Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So, it has finally happened. The Los Angeles Lakers are officially eliminated from the playoffs. Couple thoughts going into this. I did not expect the San Antonio Spurs to beat the Denver Nuggets last night, but miracles happen, and because the Lakers lost to the Phoenix Suns and the Spurs ended up beating the Denver Nuggets, the Lakers are officially done. They had a fun stat that not a lot of people know. Actually, maybe they do, because SportsCenter, I think, tweeted it out, but the Lakers had 31 wins this year, and 39 starting lineups. They literally had more starting lineup changes than they did wins, which is kind of embarrassing. I want to touch base with a couple things because there's equal blame to go around here, mostly because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's not this person's fault, and it's this person's fault, and so on and so forth. And you know what? I think it's a little bit of everything, if I'm being honest with you. The first one being obvious, the Russell Westbrook trade. It's pretty obvious that the Lakers lost that trade, and the Wizards won it. Mostly because they got a guy who, let's be honest, I mean, at the beginning of the season, pretty much anybody could have told you that Russell Westbrook was going to put up 18, 7, and 7 on horrible efficiency, and that's exactly what the fuck he did. Towards the end of the Lakers season, down the stretch, he started to get better in, like, the last, 12 games or so, but, like, they needed him to be this Russell Westbrook, like, you know, a guy with some type of conscience, about 40 or 50 games ago. So, you know what? Part of it is to, I want to say, be placed on LeBron, because LeBron wanted Russell Westbrook. I get it, like, at the time, you know, Russell Westbrook being another star player, a guaranteed star player, was a guy that you thought could go out there and win you games by himself. But what we did learn this season is something that we pretty much already knew, was the idea that Russell Westbrook couldn't hit water if he was dropped into a fucking lake. So it's just the idea that the Russell Westbrook trade really fucked the Lakers. And, you know, I get it. LeBron wanted Westbrook. Apparently, there was already a deal done for Buddy Hield, and there was the DeMar DeRozan thing. You know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm not going to sit here and play that game. It's just the idea. The trade for Russell Westbrook was fucking atrocious for the Lakers. So, that's the first thing. The trade for Russell Westbrook did not pan out the way they had anticipated. The other thing is, this is really to blame the entire team. Their defense was fucking abysmal this year. You know, LeBron is not exempt from this, because LeBron played defense relatively terribly all season. I mean, like, there was a game against the Denver Nuggets. I was watching LeBron just standing around in the paint and watching Jeff Green just shoot fucking threes. This team did not play any defense at all, and for a team with pretty much a defensive-minded head coach and a half-court offense, it's kind of like, I knew age was going to be a factor with this team, but I didn't think it would be this fucking bad. The idea that, like, literally nobody plays defense. They're, like, incapable of playing defense. Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, DeAndre Jordan was pretty much basically unplayable. I mean, like, it just, the whole shit was just bad. Kendrick Nunn didn't play at all this season and isn't going to play at all this season, so, you know, the little bit of hope I was expecting that he would come back didn't happen. Kendrick Nunn's actually a good player, it's just we didn't get to see him. Next is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis was clearly not himself this year. Injuries once again. Same case with LeBron James. Injuries are starting to become a thing in his career. We're to a point now where LeBron James struggles to play 60 games, let alone 70. And I think that's only going to decrease as time goes on. So really, it's kind of like, what's the trade value of LeBron James if you even explore that option? Same thing with Anthony Davis at the moment. It's kind of like, is Anthony Davis capable of being the same Anthony Davis we saw when they won a championship? I don't know, you know? Another thing is Frank Vogel. A lot of people want to place the blame on Frank Vogel, and I will be honest, some of his starting lineups were a little questionable in the beginning of the season where they were playing Russell Westbrook and Rajon Rondo in the backcourt together. It was pretty obvious they were just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks with these starting lineups. But I will say this, I don't think Frank Vogel is the entire problem, and I think even if you swap Frank Vogel with another coach, I don't think with this particular roster you're going to get much of a different result. Excuse me. That's just my personal opinion, though. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I've seen what Frank Vogel can do with a roster that, is actually good, and a roster that is competent, and a roster that buys in. This Lakers roster, a lot of people are saying like it's the biggest disappointment in NBA history, or like, the team that's the biggest disappointment in NBA history. And I agree with that, but I also don't agree with that. I mean, it was pretty obvious this team was old as fuck. I mean, they had Trevor Ariza, Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard. I mean, like, they were the oldest team in the fucking NBA. But I will say this, it was a LeBron James team, so expectations were obviously high. I will say this, though, they drastically underperformed. I'm not surprised that it didn't pan out the way we had expected, but I am surprised that they played so fucking horribly. The idea that you've got, 3 or 4 top 75 all-time players on your team. You got Russell Westbrook, LeBron, Carmelo, Dwight I don't think is on the list, but it's just the idea, man, there's no excuse for this. Anthony Davis, I think, is a top 75 player. So you have 4 top 75 all-time players on your team, and you couldn't even make the fucking playoffs or the play-in tournament. That's pretty bad. So I don't really know what happens from this point on. I will say this. Russell Westbrook is obviously going to pick up his player option this offseason. He's never going to make that type of money ever again in his life. And if I'm being honest, the Lakers, I think, will be lucky if they can trade Russell Westbrook for anything this offseason. They will be lucky if somebody's willing to take him with how bad he played this season. And you know what? The future remains unclear for the Los Angeles Lakers, because it's is LeBron want to go play someplace else? Is that something he's going to want to do? Is Anthony Davis going to want out? There's so many question marks with this team that it's Avery Bradley, Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, you gotta let these guys go. And the sad part is, the Lakers are so strapped for cash that pretty much the only guys they're gonna be able to sign in the offseason is vet minimum guys, unless they trade Russell Westbrook and maybe somebody else. Talen Horton-Tucker, I'm not as impressed with him as everybody else is. Some people think he's great. I happen to think he's, kind of dog shit. But it's the idea. I think they're going to have to trade Talen Horton-Tucker for something if they want to get anything. I don't really know what the market for him is going to be, but it's just the idea, man. The Lakers drastically underperformed, and I really don't know what the future looks like for this team. We're hearing things that Russell Westbrook plans to run it back with the Lakers next year, but it's I don't think the Lakers are planning to run it back with Russell Westbrook next year. So I don't know, man. It's just a big question mark. But if you want to talk teams all time that drastically underperformed, I would say the 76ers team with Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, and Embiid definitely underperformed. The Minnesota Timberwolves that had, Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, I think D'Angelo Russell and stuff like that. I think that team drastically underperformed. And now we have, arguably probably the biggest disappointment in NBA history in the 2021-2022 Lakers that didn't even make the fucking playoffs. Like I said, I expected them to be maybe a low seed going in, but at the beginning of the year, this was a team that was favorited to win the championship, and then the Nets as well were also favorited to win the championship. They were the 2 teams projected to come out of the West and the East, and they're struggling to even make the play-in. The Lakers are officially out of the play-in, and the Nets are on the crest of maybe one serious fuck up of not maybe being in it, or not making it deep into the playoffs. I think they'll make the play-in. It's who are they gonna play? So this NBA season was definitely not what we expected, and I definitely definitely am going to be watching the Lakers this offseason because I am very, very interested to see how Rob Pelinka and LeBron James turn this roster around, if that's even possible. So, tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. I'm the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.